I feel like every day people are talking about how the film industry as we know it is just ending.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about these doomsday preparations? And do you feel like the industry needs to break in order to create something better to come out of like the industry as we know it?
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked this question. If you do feel like this is like kind of a me
Sure.
type of question to answer.
Some thoughts, please.
Yeah, sure. Most of the sort of doomsday predictions and stuff come from my side of the house, so that's why I'm very excited that you asked this question. Um, I think that there's a few different ways that you can approach this because I think that the feeling of doom isn't just coming from the film industry itself. I think any sober analysis of the times that we are living in should produce a sense of at least concern.
Mhm.
And I think that the film industry has historically met times like that with some great work, right? I think the 60s is a great example in a time that we look to as a time where there are these radical, political, honest, and good movies, right? At the end of the day. Um, and I think at the baseline, the film industry up until this point, and particularly at this moment, has simply just gotten disconnected from the basic sense of quality and belief in what movies can do that motivated it, I think, in past generations.
Yeah, I also think to make an analogy, people have been saying that the theater is dying for thousands of years and it's still going on right now. So, and well, to your point, I think what's really unique about the film industry is that one person or one company can come along or one movie and change the entire industry in a night, right? Whether it's Warren Beatty in the 60s with Bonnie and Clyde or an A24 movie like Spring Breakers more recently, even though 2011 is over a decade ago, it still feels recent to me. But I think, yeah, to answer your question, there should be a change. And I do think that's coming. And I think Raw Daisies is at the precipice of that. So yes.
I also like that you guys brought up. I mean, well, I kind of want to start with the more big picture questions and then
Yeah.
focus on Raw Daisies. But when you guys are talking about the movies of the 60s and the political movies of the 60s, and I saw that Agnes Varda is an inspiration for you all. And yeah.
Yes.
I feel like more recently I've been coming across people who are saying, "Oh, we don't want politics in our movie." But I feel like every film inherently is political, just like the
Absolutely.
nature of filmmaking. So, do you also feel that way? And do you feel like that is kind of the path forward for where the industry needs to go?
Julian.
Yeah, it makes me think of this lecture I sat in at Princeton University about Iranian cinema.
Mm.
And they were saying how only 20 to 30% of the films that America sees of Iranian film is actually what is made there, right? That is a political decision. How movies are funded is a political decision. And the example that they gave, I'm forgetting the title of the film, but it was one of I think it was, I'm forgetting the name, but a lot of the finances came from a French company. So at that point, you also ask the question, is it really an Iranian film?
Mm.
And so I think you're right in that a film is political no matter what. And I think people should embrace that. And I think we should be honest about that.
Yeah. And all I'll add, I think, is that the sort of conflict, if you will, which we don't necessarily see, but I think people have brought up between politics and film.
Mhm.
I think the way that well-meaning people have tried to resolve that conflict has been in the kind of topic of the film itself,
Mhm.
right? Or the script itself. And I think when we're talking about politics and film, for us at least, it's way less politically important and frankly culturally interesting to make a film that is otherwise funded and produced through the status quo
Mhm.
that is about some whatever you want to call sort of political topic.
Mhm.
For us, I mean, this is why the first thing you see when you hit our Instagram page is that we are a seize the means of production company,
Mhm.
because the politics are a material matter. Right? They're a matter of how do we make this stuff? How do we bring it to audiences? How do we make money with this? How do we
The whole process.
the whole process? And what's unfortunately complicated the conversation has been essentially the basic acceptance of a type of filmmaking and a type of production that has basically been the same that produced a lot of really terrible behavior, to say the least, and a lot of exploitation of labor and of people, um, and with this sort of varnish of quote unquote political films. And so I would say that to people who maybe are afraid of politics in film, I think that maybe what they're thinking of are really bad movies that treat their political subjects as a sort of veneer, as opposed to a project that's fundamentally taking the political, not opinion, but reality,
Mhm.
that we're all living in, as a baseline, and makes films from there. And that's sort of how we constitute ourselves.
Yeah, I'd also like to add really quickly that I think the choice to try to ignore politics in filmmaking or in your everyday life is still a political act.
Mhm.
I think it is our life.
Yeah, I agree. And like you guys kind of alluded to, Raw Daisies is this holistic approach where it's like where the money is coming from, where the production is coming from is inherently aware of the world that it's living in. So can you talk a little bit about how the idea of Raw Daisies came to be? What were maybe some of the easy parts and hard parts of turning that into a reality? And then selfishly, I'm very curious about the name, where the name came
Yeah.
from.
I mean, I can answer that right now. You seem well versed with cinema. Do you happen to know the films Raw from 2016 by Julia Ducournau?
Yes.
Love that movie.
Oh, and
So,
Agnes?
um, pardon?
Is it Agnes Varda, the other one?
No, it's a Czech New Wave film, Daisies.
Cheat logo, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think it was 67 or 68. And what's really interesting about that film is that it was so ahead of its time that they banned it for a really, really long time. And only within the past like 5 to 10 years has there been a resurgence of screenings of this wonderful film.
Yeah.
And I was very, very moved and loved both of those films. And I was like, well, what if we just smashed them together?
Yeah,
That's great.
next to the Varda poster, okay, his head's kind of blocking it, but you can see actually our original camera probably got on the camera, but our original list of names as we were brainstorming,
Yeah.
which they're like we look back at that every so often, we're like, so many missed bullets there. But
What, can you
yeah.
give me one off of it? What was one of the
Well, so the first one we did think of, this was awesome. So along those lines, we're like, okay, what are two movies we really like? So we were like, okay, we like Lady Bird and Uncut Gems. So we went, oh, Lady Gems. Yeah.
Yeah. So no.
Yeah, and it just didn't, and I think we were personally pretty jazzed about it, and then our friends were like, it doesn't quite sound right. Like it just doesn't quite roll off the tongue. And so yeah, then we kind of went down from there. But that was definitely our first idea. And then yeah, Raw Daisies eventually
Came and it
came.
stuck. It's
And
got a nice ring to it, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. And just for the record, Katie was the one who came up with that name. So all credit to her. But do you want to talk about like sort of how we really got started?
Sure. I think we started the company very organically and unintentionally at first. We're both artists, and I think we realized that much like other artists, there comes a bit of legitimacy when you have a production company, and it is very easy to fill out an LLC form. So, um, but then through time, we realized that our artistic aspirations were a lot bigger than just making movies. I love producing because I'm able to help others realize their vision as well too. And so it just kept growing and growing. And now we're at this point where all of our other interests are coming in as well too.
Yeah. I mean, we're doing, live theater. We screen print our own merch.
Mhm.
We put on events that and that's, I'm sure we'll get into that are sort of a big part of our distribution. But I think to Katie's point, it was a really organic thing. I think we, speak of sort of material necessity. It was just sort of like, okay, well, if you want to make a movie, how do you make a movie? You get your friends together, you get a camera. Okay, well, if somebody gets hurt, that'd be bad. So let's make an LLC and get insurance so that, so it was sort of a logical,
Practical.
practical kind of thinking. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
did you guys, oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
no, it's okay.
I was going to ask about the Summerfest series, which kicked off about 2 weeks ago now,
Mhm.
and I'm curious if you could talk a little bit about like your upcoming program this summer and why having not film-centric events was so important for you guys to as part of this film production company event series.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a balance because we do have a couple events that are centered around film. Our next one, well, our second to next one is combining concerts and screenings together. And then at the end of August, we're going to have our films and our projects on loop combined with a dance rave party. So it's not that they're not there, they are a part of it. But I think we were getting creative and excited about what else could it look like. So our next one is a merch drop party for our new launch. So that's another exciting, fun event, but still in line with the company as it's like a merch drop.
Yeah. I think, but you might be looking at like speed dating
Fight night.
or fight night, where we're brought in a political organizing a trainer to teach about those things. It kind of goes back to our first answer, the first thing, which is that your first artistic responsibility is to live in this world right now. That's it. You can go to whatever college you want to go to. You can ascribe to whatever kind of philosophy. You can work really, really, really hard as an artist, and you will not be fulfilling, at least in our opinion, your artistic responsibility if you are not living in this world right now. And the fact is that people are all over the place in terms of what they want to do, where they want to be, and limiting ourselves. I'll say this: we've been to many, like, the traditional kind of independent film events, right? We're not coming up with anything new here, right? You go into a room, you sit down, everyone's quiet and respectful, you watch the movie once and you applaud because it's your friend's movie, and you maybe you chat about it, you have some wine or whatever, and it for one tends to focus on one project in one film, and it doesn't put you in sort of a broader philosophy or ethic. And for us, we think at least that the A24 concept, having grown up in the 2010s in film, was very educational because it was the first time that I would really say that people really fell in love with the brand. Although I don't think that, I think we take it a step farther than that, but something that kind of supersedes the films themselves. Obviously, the films are a major part of it and a major reason why people love that brand. But people are where they are, right? So if people are, being, and I know this is not a particularly, like, I don't want to get too about it, but if people are having their civil rights and liberties trampled upon, it feels to us a little bit strange to ignore that for the sake of, like, oh, I just want to put out indie filmmaking, and I just want to put out what it just feels, it would feel personally like not having to do with anybody else, just on our level. We don't want to wake up every day and feel like we're spending our time doing filmmaking and all this other stuff while the world crumbles around us. And so part of it is a selfish thing, in that, like, we don't want to live in this sort of cognitively dissonant state where we have to pretend like all these terrible things aren't happening. Or in this example, like speed dating, right? We can see all around us that people are really having trouble in the dating world because, like,
particularly in New York.
Because people are really, really alienated. And what we would rather people see from Raw Daisies, or think of Raw Daisies, not necessarily as a film production company, but as people who care about people. And from there, I don't think it's actually that complicated to get those people to watch our movies, to get those people to support us in a million different ways. And that is, what we feel at least is going to be and has already become a major part of whatever is coming down the pipe in terms of filmmaking and particularly independent film. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, and I think what I love about the idea of Raw Daisies so much is that you guys have kind of answered the question of why the film industry is dying is people want community.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
more than filmmaking, it's more than just, a dark room, a big projector, but it is the sense of community that is tied together by love of film, but spreads out beyond that as well. So
Yeah.
I'm sad that I don't live in New York or nearby.
We're gonna be worldwide soon, I'm sure.
I'm excited. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my last question is just real quick. For those of us not living in the New York area, what kind of ways are there that people can support and help the mission if they want to support Raw Daisies?
Yeah. I also will say we've been trying to live stream our events too, which obviously isn't ideal, but we are trying to find smaller ways to engage in cities outside as well too. One of our team members, Calissa Lavery, is from Pittsburgh, and she's really, really gung-ho
Wait,
about. Are you
that's where
in
I
Pittsburgh?
am. Yes.
Okay, well, she's been really gung-ho about outdoor movie screenings and reviving that. So that, could potentially be something that we're interested in. But
Yeah.
I guess more in the immediate future, as small as like buying merch, that helps the mission because all of those profits go towards making the next film. And also, I do want to mention, because I'm not sure if we really touched upon it, but what's really important to us and what connects to everything that Michael said before, um, is our profit splitting model, because artists should get a portion of the profits. They should be involved in distribution. That's really, really important. That's an essential step, actually, of filmmaking and art in general, right? So they should get a say, not only in terms of verbally, but in terms of financially as well too. So point being, merch helps.
And it looks great.
It
And
does.
it feels good.
But or even just like spreading the word around with your friends. I think one of our biggest inspirations, I know we talk about the 60s a lot, but I think what was really cool is that you're at a party and all of a sudden there's like an underground little pamphlet that someone tells you and like spreading it that way because I think it really is a grassroots movement. And so I think sharing posts, telling your friends, that's what
Watching
comes
our
to
film,
watching our film.
obviously.
Yes, they are
Um,
available online
uh,
as well too.
yeah, and yeah, I don't think I don't know of many other production companies that have a manifesto that we call a manifesto that we fan out. And I believe that's accessible online. And I think in general, you know, we're not we believe that the more people who do this type of model,
Mhm.
the more successful all of us are going to be. We are not sitting here being like, oh, like, we think that that we're leading the pack in terms of aesthetically and in terms of our business model, we think. But it's like we've said, it's kind of a natural progression of decisions.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of other people are going to make those decisions and should make those decisions. And so, you know, start your own, whatever, if you are inspired by us, give us some cred. That's always great. Just say, hey, I was inspired by Raw Daisies. That's awesome. And the way we see it is that
We're all
this
together.
we're all in this together, and there are, you know, fundamentally, what Raw Daisies is a hopeful vision of the future.
Hmm.
That should not be a unique selling point. But the fact of the matter is, there are not many other institutions, filmmaking or otherwise, that are even attempting to articulate a hopeful vision of the future. And the fact is, like, not giving up on the things you care about is, in a maybe a roundabout way, maybe in a bit of abstract way, is, I think, a contribution to what we're doing. And so, if you love all that and you dig all that, then, hop on board. If you are in New York, definitely come through. Just reach out to us. I think we want to spread out. I think it's just, we're starting here and we're branching out. So building those connections now are going to be helpful for us in the future. So,
Mhm.
and yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh is on our radar. So you better
Yeah.
watch out.
I
We're
will
gonna be,
absolutely send you guys an email after this because I'd
yeah,
love
for
to chat
sure,
with Calista about it. But
for
thank you
sure,
so much.
of
That's
course,
I
Yeah.
love that outlook about film. That's
yeah,
what a great outlook. What a great way to end it.
yeah, no problem.
All
Thank you
right.
very much.
Yeah. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
your time.
Absolutely. You guys have a great rest of your day, okay?
You
Thanks.
too.
You too. Bye
Bye.
bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks.